This is the Washington Times front page for Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The nation's trucking industry is facing significant headwinds in dealing with a massive shortage of drivers, just one of the factors contributing to a supply chain bottleneck that is driving up prices and threatening Christmas shopping. Gary Pickett reports the trucker shortage has reached critical mass, one of the weak links in America's supply chain that President Biden is struggling to fix. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the president's supply chain task force will discuss a range of steps that need to be taken and are even open to considering policies or continuing some policies from the Trump administration. Trucking companies are suffering from the bottleneck in the supply chain, including shortages of parts or even trucks, but the lack of drivers is the industry's biggest concern. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the trucking industry lost 6% of its pre-pandemic workforce, about 91,000 workers. President Biden's slipping poll numbers are setting off alarm bells for Democrats headed into the 2022 midterms. Seth MacLachlan reports heading into this summer, the president had 52% of voters approving of his job performance and 43% disapproving. Those percentages have since flipped. 43% of voters now approve of the president's performance and 52% disapprove, according to the latest Real Clear Politics average of polls. The president's approval rating went underwater for the first time after the chaotic U.S. exit from Afghanistan. Biden has lost ground across the board, shedding support among most age groups, races, and voters with a high school education or less, according to a YouGov America tracking poll. A bright spot for the president is voters with postgraduate degrees, where his approval rating moved from 54% to 64%. The Department of Homeland Security ignored an explicit warning from the Pentagon about cybersecurity concerns tied to Chinese-made drones and drone parts during a recent purchase of the devices. Ryan Lovelace and Guy Taylor reviewed internal government procurement documents and found the Secret Service went ahead with buying 8 commercial surveillance drones manufactured by the Chinese drone-making giant Dajiang Innovations after the Pentagon issued its warning in July. The transaction was made 3 days after the Pentagon circulated a statement specifically warning that those drones pose potential threats to national security. The Secret Service has declined to comment on the purchases. The contract has triggered scrutiny over the extent to which the agency has run afoul of restrictions on U.S. government use of equipment from certain Chinese companies, even if that equipment is available for purchase by American citizens via e-commerce sites like Amazon. A reminder that you can find all these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. Don't have access yet? Visit WashingtonTimes.com/George and get 25% off your annual subscription. A Maryland couple is behind bars until a detention hearing Friday, accused of trying to sell sensitive U.S. nuclear secrets to a foreign government. Joseph Clark reports Jonathan and Diana Toby are accused of passing sensitive information about U.S. submarines to undercover FBI agents whom they thought were working for a foreign government. The 23-page affidavit in the case described a months-long FBI operation after an undisclosed foreign government alerted the U.S. that Jonathan sent copies of submarine documents with a promise for more in exchange for $100,000 in cryptocurrency. He hid and sent the information inside of Band-Aids and even a peanut butter sandwich. His wife, a private school teacher, is alleged to have conspired with her husband and served as the lookout on several of the dead drops, according to prosecutors. And finally, Bill Gertz reports former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, former White House National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, and former Director of National Intelligence John Radcliffe all said there were no indications of a Chinese war scare in the final weeks before the presidential election in 2020. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Milley insisted that a significant degree of intelligence indicated the Chinese military was on alert for a U.S. attack in October 2020 in the hectic run-up to the presidential election. Milley, in a Senate hearing a few weeks ago, defended 2 back-channel phone calls to a Chinese official on October 30th and January 8th, 2020. Calls he said were looking to ease tensions and avoid misunderstandings following the election. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search Washington Times. Make sure to find us on Twitter and Instagram as well at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.